How did you get involved in Newswatch at Medway High School?
And if I remember right, if I remember the name right, I don't think we called it Newswatch at the time. Of my social studies teachers, Mr. Kennedy, kind of got everyone into it, I guess. And I remember him being big into it. And it just was, I don't know, it was kind of, not really even sure. We just kind of decided to do it. And thinking, oh, hey, cool, we can be on. And it was very low key back then. And we learned, it was more learning how to channel and, how are they doing editing. And if I remember the guy of it back in the day, his name was Vern. I don't believe he's alive. He was pretty old back then. I don't believe he's around anymore, but his name was Vern. He ran and kind of knowing how to run the equipment and how to, back then, which was a lot different, editing video on tape. And we used to do some school projects down there and use the equipment to put school projects together. But I think it was just one of those things like, oh, cool, I can be in front of a camera. And they wanted to start to do weather segments. And everyone knew that sitting and looking to go to college for. And so we kind of started doing it and just got hooked.
What was your favorite story that you covered for Newswatch?
We did a story, and I'm trying to think, storm development, or it was on, was it thunderstorm development or severe weather, if I remember right? Almost like kind of like a safety video, if I remember. And I mean, I think that was one of the we did, and it was for back in the day compared to what we do nowadays in the real television field.
Weather team, Todd Simcox.
This week's Weather Wonder is about clouds. The term cloud refers to the suspension of small ice or water particles within the atmosphere. Clouds in the atmosphere form whenever their relative humidity rises slightly above 100%. This can occur for many reasons, such as the upward motion of air, which causes expansion and cooling, the intake of water from outside the air mass, or the loss of heat by radiation.
From our standpoint, we're like, hey, cool, this is awesome. We made graphics and did all sorts of stuff and to make it look good. And, it was cool. I mean, it wasn't, we never really got and I don't know if it's how it's run right now in terms of if you guys actually go cover real news stories in the area or how that works, but we didn't really do that per se. It was kind of back then more community based than it was news based, I guess you'd say. So we just kind of covered stuff that, the community enjoyed kind of thing and just getting information out about things like that. And then they just added that science part in. And I remember doing something, I believe it was on severe weather segment about that.
That's really cool.
Of course, yeah. Like I said, we're going back a long time, so I'm sitting here trying to rack my brain. That may not be super accurate, but I think it is.
How did that contribute to your current career?
It just, going through school, and even to this day, I am fairly shy. So, I was not one to really get in front of a camera. If you had to present a project in front of the class, I would beg and plead with my teachers, let me go last. I just prolong it, put it off. I didn't want to get in front of the class. I was so nervous. And then starting to do a little bit of the work in front of it kind of put me at ease a little bit. But then it kind of went from there. And I did ships at Channel 5 in Boston and Channel 4 in Boston, and I started working with a meteorologist there and seeing what doing professionally, how does this actually work in the real world, and it kind of it hooked me. It hooked me to see them. I believe it was Channel 4 at the time for a couple of severe weather events, some thunderstorms that were coming through, and just kind of the hype and the adrenaline that was going through the weather office and the newsroom trying to get that information out. It was this is really, really cool. And once I got past the butterflies and the nervousness, I was really hooked on that. And then on top, the science aspect. Science was my favorite class going through high school anyways. So, that was that kind of hooked me. It took a while. I mean, getting in front of the camera and doing 50 takes till I felt like, oh, okay, I think that's okay now. I think, I felt more comfortable with it. You just kind of started getting used to it. So it helped me, get hooked on TV and weather, and then projected me when I went to college. We actually had, similar to our college had its own television station that was run by students. This one, though, was quite a step up like it was in the real world. So I kind of came in with a pretty good amount to excel on that in school.
Do you have any other like cool or favorable memories at Medway High School?
I was on the one of the high school soccer championship teams. We won the stip at WPI. That was always a memorable thing. School, my parents still live in Medway, so we come back every once in a while. But it was a lot smaller than it is now, and it's hard to recognize some of the places. But obviously the population has exploded since back in the 90s. But back then everyone knew everyone. It was such a small community. It was just a lot of fun. I mean, we got along, and even with the old and the lower classmen, like everyone knew everyone because oh, so and so's family or friends with them, and it was such a small community. You kind of knew everyone and everyone got along. I mean, so it made it a lot of fun. I mean, there's so many memories from high school that it would take forever to memorize, to name them all. But I think it just was a great place to grow up. And the kids that I went to school with, I knew from day one. We were in Medway from the minute we were born, and we just went through everything all the way up through senior year. And graduate. I look back on it now, and there's still times where I say, oh, man, remember when we did that in high school, how fun that was?
What are some of your achievements that you are most proud of in your current career?
Just being able to work at a phenomenal station, for one. This business is tough. There's no question about it. It is extremely, extremely tough. Jobs, especially now with social media and things like that, people can get their news and weather from a million different sources. They don't have to turn on the news at night and watch that. But there's something about local news that a lot of people still want. And so, they may not turn on the national news, but they want to hear what's happening in their town, that kind of thing. So it's still pretty important, but it's with all the other sources of information, it makes our jobs a little bit tougher. And so I work at a fantastic station. I've been here. I'll be almost 20 years now. It'll be 20 years in September. So I've been up here for a long time. I'm the chief meteorologist up here, which, that's probably my biggest to work hard and impress my bosses that I was able to get that promotion. I think we're on 8 years ago now. So, it's been something that to me is a big accomplishment. But to be able to stay in this business as long as I have, I think says a lot too. There's not a lot of people that have, been able to do that because it's tough. It's not an easy business. And I say that from, like I said, the standpoint of social media and people getting their information elsewhere, but dealing with people. I mean, you're in the public eye. You're in front of the camera. So yes, you're going to get the critics, and they're not going to say very nice things. So if you don't have a thick skin, you'll never make it here. So this kind of teaches you to just kind of let things roll off, because for that one critic, you've also got 50 others in the other corner that absolutely love what you're doing and rely on your stuff. So you always have to keep that in the back of your mind. Otherwise, this business will eat you up. But I think, biggest accomplishment probably becoming the chief meteorologist here and just being in the business for over 20 years now total, in a business that's extremely tough to do. So, but it's been rewarding at the same time from a meteorology standpoint. Weather affects everyone's lives on a daily basis. They rely on what's the weather going to do, whether it's just them going outside or whether it's their job. Maybe their job depends on it, so everyone really depends on the weather. So I think that's kind of the rewarding part of this job, is that you're able to provide people with what they want and what they need on a daily basis. So you're providing that service that I think makes you feel pretty good.
Is there any person or role model that guided you on your journey?
Yeah, so I interned with really three of some of the bigger names in Boston meteorology in terms of TV meteorology. Interned with Bruce Schwegler at Channel 5, huge name back in the 70s and 80s and 90s before he retired. Also with Dick Albert, which was a big name for a long time. And, just watching what those guys did and how they did it, even, they've been in the business for a super long time. Even when they were getting to retire, I mean, they were still doing it like it was day one. Like it still mattered to them. It never was, they never took anything for granted. Like, oh, I'm just on TV and I'm a big name here. No, they were serious about their job. And when I interned with them and saw the work that they put into it and how they went about presenting their forecast and things like that, able to pick up a lot from that, and helped me, feel a little bit better about what I'm doing, and kind of made me think about, how to go about, when I'm on camera and how to present so that people understand it and make it fun so people keep tuning in and things like that. Schwegler. And then there was Mark Rosenthal, which was at Channel 5 as well. Mm-hmm. Those three right there, just interning with them for the short time that I did was a huge, and it just is more and more that I wanted to do.